Man, what a way to start a video. My allergies are killing me. Alright everybody, so how are we doing today? Hopefully better than me. So here we go. Today we're going to talk about corporate censorship of social media. Are you ready? I'm not. Anyway, according to this article, online war between liberals and conservatives in the U.S. obscures real threat of government censorship. Ooh. Well, it might actually be more realistic than you think. With sudden suspensions and hasty banning sprees, social media giants are censoring more than ever. However, high-profile spats between liberals and conservatives often grab the spotlight, but that's the tip of the censorship iceberg. Liberal rage mobs calling for provocative conservatives to be cancelled or deplatformed are loud, and they attract plenty of attention, both on social media and across centrist and liberal-leaning mainstream media. The simultaneous banishment of right-wing agitator Alex Jones. Yes, Alex Jones is an alligator. He's a crocodilian, everybody. Alex Jones from major platforms last year was a litmus test, a way to gauge whether such bans would be palatable to the mainstream. When few raised their voices to object, the corporations had their answer. It was going to be easy to push out similar voices, and they could probably even start to widen the net. When Vox journalist Carlos Maza insisted that conservative YouTube host Steven Crowder be banned for using homophobic slurs against him, it made headlines in their haste to comply with this and other demands from the outrage police. Platforms have been concocting new rules and guidelines on the fly. The result has been even that the most innocuous accounts have found themselves caught up in the maelstrom. Incredibly, history teachers even had their YouTube channels suspended for hate speech, because they publish resources for students to learn about Nazi Germany. Yes, even historical resources are banned over these stupid rules. Really quick, how is Carlos Maza not the most hated man on the internet right now? I mean, seriously. I mean, when it first dropped, I literally tweeted the guy. I literally told him, like, straight up, I could throttle you right now, you little shit. Anyway. Moving on from my fascination with choking, liberals are so attached to their fantasy about the goodness of authority that they actually convince themselves that Silicon Valley giants, who they're otherwise willing to malign, are exercising censorship powers in defense of marginalized people against the powerful. That is a tweet from Glenn Greenwald. This might at first seem like a digital war between liberals and conservatives, with the social media companies firmly on the side of liberals, but to really understand the latest news towards censorship, it's necessary to put aside that notion and begin to see this as a fight between governments and anyone who challenges establishment narratives, wherever they lie on the political spectrum. Alright, this is where the article tries to prove its point. And believe me, I'm very much an anti-authoritarian, and I do not like the government most of the time. But even I'm willing to take this with a grain of salt. So, tackling fake news with censorship. When you delve into the details, there's little doubt that the most dangerous censorship efforts are all coming straight from the government itself. And social media corporations like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, as everyone knows, are inextricably linked to the US government. Well, yeah, they're Silicon Valley firms. They're subsidized. The last 3 years have been numerous attempts by the U.S. Congress to rid social media of information, which might sow discord in American society, particularly the nebulous Russian and disinformation. Silicon Valley CEOs have been dragged before Congress and raked over the coals by elected officials, demanding that they do more to tackle fake news. Of course, they never offer a concise definition of what fake news actually is. Because politicians who just want to get what they want to get their way, are frequently, if not often, extremely vague about such things. So far this is looking pretty good. In a shockingly candid Senate committee hearing in 2017, senators from both parties argued that foreign infiltration was leading to increased social tensions in America, and they ordered Facebook and Twitter to prevent the fermenting of discord in society. So they want to prevent the Discord app from becoming popular? Oh, that's not what they mean. In society, a former FBI agent warned that civil wars don't start with gunshots, they start with words, telling executives that they needed to quell information rebellions. Information rebellions. That's cute. Yeah, just gloss over what usually starts civil wars, which is usually the economic strength of one part of a country fucking with the economic strength of another. Familiar? Contrast this with how U.S. officials want social media to be used in other countries. It's perfectly okay, even encouraged, for Facebook to act as a vehicle to facilitate political uprisings in a country whose government Washington wants to overthrow. But social upheaval and rebellion in America? That's strictly forbidden. Tweet from Philip Ingram. I don't understand how these corps aren't seen as actors of the state. They were all instructed on the Senate floor last year of their responsibility to quell information rebellions, while at the same time receiving copious amounts of money from U.S. intelligence agency projects. What's an information rebellion? Information that's counterintuitive to what the state tells you? Is that what they're talking about? That's very Orwellian. Silicon Valley serving the status quo. Consider the evidence. We've already seen Facebook alter its algorithms in such a way that traffic to leftist anti-capitalism websites was sent plummeting. Thank God. We've seen it team up with government-funded think tanks, only to suddenly suspend anti-U.S. imperialism news outlets. We've seen it arbitrarily apply new rules specifically to Russia-linked pages. Yes, we've witnessed Twitter shadow banning and outright banning conservatives. We've also seen it suddenly suspend accounts of prominent libertarian anti-war activists. Interesting. Former White House officials and CIA directors have joined the board of the Orwellian NewsGuard news rating app, whose sole purpose is to drive eyes away from anti-establishment content, including WikiLeaks, whose founder is languishing in a British prison. Sometimes efforts to control speech are even more blatant. Florida's governor recently signed a bill which equates criticism of Israel to anti-Semitism, another overt attempt by elected officials to punish legitimate political speech. But is NewsGuard really trying to steer you away from anti-establishment sites? Is that really the truth? I haven't used it to honestly say whether or not it's truly Orwellian or not. I honestly don't know. I use MediaBiasFactCheck.net. That's where I go for that shit. I wouldn't want to use an app that could potentially eat up resources on my system's CPU, which admittedly my processor actually is a really fast quad-core. It's been doing me good for a long time. But I still like it when it's operating at peak efficiency. An app like that is sure to tax it to some extent. Anyway, moving on from that. The question is, private companies or government lapdogs? Those who advocate for or who are apathetic toward some acceptable level of censorship often defend Facebook, arguing that it is a private company that can do whatever it wants. Excuse me. This fails to acknowledge that Facebook is essentially a monopoly when it comes to information sharing online, and has shown itself to be more than comfortable working hand in glove with government CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Recently endorsed government censorship, saying that the question of what speech should be acceptable and what is harmful needs to be defined by regulation, by thoughtful governments. Keyboard warriors insisting on the banning of this or that figure are indeed annoying and most of the time misguided, but they're not the greatest enemy in the battle against censorship. Was he calling for government regulation, or was he simply encouraging governments in general to make regulation on speech? I think it's more generalized, and this is a little conspiratorial, admittedly. Trump and other Republicans have made a lot of noise against censorship in recent months, as high-profile conservatives have been targeted, but nobody should be tempted to see Trump or congressional Republicans as anti-censorship crusaders. It's not enough to be anti-censorship, only in defense of your own tribe. But anyway, Trump is just a flash in the pan. When he is gone, the censorship advocates on both sides of the aisle within U.S. government agencies will remain. If people get to see the wood from the trees, Twitter bickering between guys like Moz and Crowder will start to seem like small potatoes. When Westerners hear government censorship, their minds jump to countries like Saudi Arabia or North Korea. Well, what Facebook and friends have been doing as a form of government censorship is just a more insidious kind that creeps up without most people noticing. Excuse me again. So, you know what? Why can't both be true? Why can't it be government censorship and also private platforms being encouraged by some of its users to increase censorship? One does not particularly get in the way of the other. And it's not like, you see someone banned not long after complaints begin to appear that they have no impact whatsoever. I mean, that's bullshit. The social justice warriors are not the small potatoes this article makes them out to be. I mean, Carlos Maza is literally an employee of a major news outlet. That is not small potatoes. Journalists, if you let them, can do a lot of damage with misinformation and demands for censorship, because they're usually listened to. So, no, it's not small potatoes. Both are the problem. They're saying that you're only looking at one problem and not the other, and their solution is to look at one problem and not the other. No, you need to look at both problems. Government censorship through Silicon Valley tech firms and censorship by keyboard warriors. Both are a problem. Censorship, period, must not be allowed. Anyway, there you go. There's my opinion. There's the article. Make of it what you will.